Hey everyone, Sly47 here. Welcome back to Push Yourself. In the second episode, I'm going to teach you how to be a crack shot, hit some DDs or even cruisers in smoke, kind of help you get rid of those little buggers a little bit better. I'm going to teach you how to shoot torpedoes to have a little bit more chance of hitting at long ranges, at least in my opinion. I'm going to give you some tips on how to hit better players specifically with torpedoes at kind of those middle to long distances. And then, of course, carriers. I'm actually going to help some of you learn a few key concepts of how to increase your damage in carriers. Why? Because I actually want some of the carriers in my games to actually do something. Is that a little too rough? Nah, I'm going to keep it in. Let's get into it. Okay, how am I going to make you a better shot? Now, this concept is called volley firing, and I actually got keyed on to this by Swiss Cheese originally a few months back. I've been getting better at it. It's actually different per each ship. It's dependent on where your turrets are on your ship. It's a lot, but I want to kind of give you the gist, and then you'll have to take it from there because, of course, I can't test every single ship. And I thought, hey, you know what? Let's just do a 2-2 Montana versus a Conqueror. Nice, solid broadside. Make this pretty simple. I'll show a Stalingrad right after this to kind of help you explain, or kind of help to explain, I should say, this concept to you. Now, what happens when you fire your guns full broadside? Send them all, double tap, everything like that. As we can see, the shells basically go out. Now, of course, in a 2-2 situation, makes a lot of sense. But as the shells fly, they are all aimed at that general target that you have. But because of width over bore, technically not height over bore, like most people would know, but because of width over bore, they're slightly off. They're not quite on target. So as they land, when you can see them land, you're actually seeing them kind of just everywhere from dispersion. But they are generally landing in that area, and also you're seeing some of your shells actually crisscross. And that's where this entire concept changes. The cross just doesn't happen when you actually decide to ripple fire. What you're allowed to do, and this is actually this first one I was actually testing out and kind of failed at it, but you're going to see that the first salvo hit all the way from the second turret to the third turret. Now I'm going to make the spread a little tighter by volley firing. As you can tell, all the shells are actually crisscrossing now, absolutely, but they all are actually going to hit pretty much the area that I wanted them to. Because now instead of just hit this general area, you're now this turret fire here, this turret fire here, this turret fire here, and this turret fire here. So as we speed up this to the next salvo, let me just grab it because of course I just fudged the reload. I don't play the Montana over here. And like that, I'm going to go actually the opposite way because now we're going to get even a tighter spread. And I just did a minor change, but as you can tell, the dispersion on this is much better. And that's what ripple fire allows you. Now I am hitting between the main, the conning tower, I think so. I don't know, the main command tower and the third turret, if not a little bit in front of the third turret, where previously I almost had per se a 25% increase in just dispersion from just full on firing. So this is a high level concept. I'd highly suggest you need to go into training rooms. You need to kind of play around with it. Every ship is slightly different due to their turret style and where they are at and everything like that, especially when you maybe have a Nelson or something like that where it's actually more of a, hey, the guns are going to land at different ranges and everything. But as you can see, if you just slightly move and you ripple fire, your accuracy is just straight up better. So this is definitely a thing that I would suggest learning on your favorite ship specifically, or maybe a ship that you're wanting to play a little bit better to push yourself. But let's get into the Stalingrad where let's make it stupidly accurate. Now, let's take the king of snipers at tier 10, the Stalingrad. This is ridiculously accurate. It doesn't even need the precise aim, but it does have it. So let's just fire off a salvo at the Conqueror. Let's see exactly how it works. Now, of course, shooting it generally hits her. Only 4 hits. Of course, some of them hit off to the side. It's a duckbill. Let's see how different volley fire is for this ship. And unfortunately, I disappeared because I have a concealment build. But volley fired right there. And as we can tell, 7 hits. There's a clear distinction. You have to learn it per each ship. It's unfortunate that I can teach you the concept. I can't really teach you exactly the ins and outs of every ship. But volley fire, in my opinion, as I've been doing it more and more and really making it more of my daily usage, especially at long ranges, because of course at close range doesn't quite matter, but at long ranges I've noticed my damage increase. So I would highly suggest playing around with this and trying it out. I really believe it will help you. Let's get into the next subject. So we've all been in the situation. The DD is smoked up, maybe you don't have any radar, sonar, everything like that. Who knows? Maybe you're in a battleship that doesn't have any options. Let me teach you how to shoot the little bugger, make them realize they're not as safe in smoke as what they seem to be. Now, from here, we're going to see the shots go out. Now, you have to use the tracers specifically. The tracers will tell you exactly where the guns are. Now, of course, the guns are shooting a little upward. They're, of course, going to have a little bit of arc. But what I've actually found on any ship type, realistically, depending on whether you have a high arc or a low arc, you can use these ticks to try to figure out where the main body of the ship is. Of course, we don't want to overshoot. We want to make sure that we hit approximately the main body of the ship. So, I'm in the Donskoy, so I have a high speed, I have a high velocity shell, low arc. So, of course, I'm actually going to use the even ticks to actually figure this out. And as we watch, we'll actually see the guns come out and the traces come out basically just above those ticks. Now, of course, what you can use those for is actually figuring out where the little sucker is. So we're going to fire using those ticks, specifically full on smack. That's kind of how you want to think about it. Now, of course, DDs might be moving around. You might want to play around with it, kind of find the quadrant where they might be at, shoot a little bit, figure it all out. But if they're just sitting there, use those tracers to your advantage. Now, also, any DD players that are watching this, don't buy the space camos. This basically just makes it super easy. And also, move around. Just move around. But, of course, if you're playing a DD that's deciding, I'm safe in my smoke, use those little tick marks, figure out your velocity, your shells, about which one you would prefer to use and which one works better for that ship, and literally just land on them perfectly. As we can tell, when you actually look at the tick marks, pretty much we were hitting straight, full body bit of this kebab test dummy. So let's get into Worcester, where it has a little bit higher arc to kind of show the opposite side of these things. Now, of course, these are extremes, so you'll have to find out where exactly your ship lies. Now, we've got the Worcester. Its arcs are basically saying hi to satellites as they fly by, everything like that. So, as we can tell, we're actually going to use the odd ticks here because, of course, we're landing at a higher arc. We don't want to adjust too much there. So right here, you're going to see shells go out. This DD's just sitting there enjoying themselves. Pretty good hit so far. And any hit, especially on a DD that's in smoke, is better. Slight adjustment, get a little bit better. Now, of course, you're dealing with dispersion right here. But that's generally the gist idea, is you're actually going to use the odd ticks for higher arc ships and the even ticks for that to kind of help better gauge exactly where those smoking DDs are. Now, let's go for angling DDs, kind of help you out a little bit there. Next up, brought out the Buffalo for this one for angling DDs. Kind of just, this is a little bit of trial and error. So, of course, as the DD starts firing, we're actually seeing that the shells are coming in what looks to be basically at an angle. One's coming in at far back compared to the first two set of shells. So, kind of figure out, okay, front of the ship's about right there. Hit the target a few times, okay. We can make it a little bit better, kind of try to find the middle point of the ship a little bit. You're going to do a little bit of trying, especially when the ship is moving with angling. Not quite there, but the ship's still in the same exact position. But we know it's somewhere in between those two that are dispersion, and everything will just hit the magic number and you start hitting it more. So, especially with angling DDs or moving DDs, you have to kind of do a little bit of trial and error, but I hope this helps kind of keep those annoying DDs off you a little bit and maybe out of smoke, because they all of a sudden realize they're not safe in smoke. Let's go to the next subject. So typically when you fire off torpedoes, at close range you're just going to blap them out and send them all in one. They basically just drop an entire salvo. It's good, it's fun, everything like that. But at longer ranges, I've noticed that a consistent problem is that a lot of people just go by this white indicator. they just stick with it. And when they fire it off, their torpedoes will be, one after another, just going straight to their target. Makes it really easy to dodge because now there's massive area in between each one of those torpedoes for someone to potentially slip through, basically being able to dodge them. Now, for me, this is the tactic I employ on certain DDs, specifically, especially when I'm shooting at longer ranges. And what it is just basically targeting just a little bit before, just a little bit, and a little bit after. And what that creates is a full screen. As we watch these torpedoes go out, what you're going to notice is, they're going to generally intersect, but they're also going to start fitting in between each other, especially when you have better players who will constantly be bobbing, weaving, slowing down, and moving, turning, everything like that. You're able to create a more effective screen and more likelihood of actually hitting your targets. And as we can see right here, right there, basically you have a 6 torpedo kill box right there that if they don't turn in time, they're taking most of them. If they, slowed down, they're still going to take 2. Let's say they even were going at half speed and they sped up, they're going to hit the other 2. This creates a great screen of area of denial torps almost, but you're still going to do some damage because you're still going to hit something. You do not actually want to send out your torpedoes when they're back to back like the middle 6 are right now, but as the entire thing, because those aren't always going to hit. You're hedging your bets too much, in my opinion. But as we can tell right here, Nevsky moves at that last moment, still taking 6. You miss 4, but if you would have said put them out back to back on themselves, you literally would have run into a situation where they maybe only would have taken 4. So a little pro tip for me at longer ranges, in my opinion, when shooting torpedoes to help you hit just a few, because of course an entire torpedo salvo miss sucks, so you might as well hit some. So how am I going to suggest you hit torps against better players? So first and foremost, the white line, the white indicator, is lie.
But there's no sense crying over every mistake. You just keep on trying till you run out of cake.
It's a straight up lie. It is. It's just a straight up lie. When you're dealing with better players, and this is actually going to be a subject of a future video, they will constantly be changing direction. That rudder will never be straight. That rudder will be going just back and forth on each side in order to dodge torpedoes or be ready. Sometimes it screws them over if you do the torpedoes at the right time, though. So highly would suggest don't fire all of your torpedoes, don't hedge your bets on anything like that, and actually use a technique that basically Pig Bay and I beat to death on this, which is area of denial torpedoes. Is basically you're just going to take that white indicator as a suggestion, and you're going to fire almost the middle of the indicator on the edge of the white indicator and on the other edge of the white indicator, just sending out a massive spread. Now, of course, they're going to be able to dodge some, but maybe during their turn, they maybe turn the wrong way and end up taking a few. And that's what area of denial torps are best at, is just catching people off guard. You're still going to do some damage, especially against better players when you don't want to hedge your bets against them, and you'll miss completely if they're good players. But highly suggested that what you do is just use area of denial torps. Just make it so the entire area, they have to think about moving rather than shooting, and that can also keep you alive. So, but of course, not going to get too into it because that's a subject for a future video. But hopefully this kind of helps you integrate that idea into using torpedoes and hitting better players. Deny them area, make them move, and maybe you might hit a full salvo, maybe you might hit 1 or 2, but still, that's still a hit and not a full miss. So I'm really trying not to just fire up and make this entire video about how I hate CVs, but I figured if I'm going to help everyone increase their damage and push themselves to become better players, I might as maybe will help out carriers that might happen to be on my team someday so that they actually can help out and support their team. Yeah, okay, I'm trying not to start up a rant. Let's just get into it. Let's just do it, okay? Let's get this over with. Dive bombers, probably the easiest thing to get damage with in a carrier. It's a set it, forget it, even though it really shouldn't be. Come on. Keep on trying to stop a rant. But set it, forget it, fire. Even if the person disappears, it's still going to hit your target. Now, actually, you want to maximize your capabilities of hitting targets with your dive bombers. Actually, you need to remember that your dive bombers shoot and hit in an oval pattern. So what better is to actually not target the ship with your dive bombers directly, especially if the target happens to be perpendicular to you. What you actually want to do is send them out in front of the ship, and then when they cross the bow of the ship or even the stern of the ship, then send them in, and which allows you to have a better area of hit within that. So you can see you're hitting the entirety of the ship, not basically a perpendicular part of the ship. So if you actually want to increase your damage or increase your chance of fire, this is something that I have had happen to me so many times, I should say, and that's all because it's a very good carrier player using this technique on me. They're remembering that the area where the bombs drop is an oval of wherever the planes come from. So sometimes put your bombers a little bit ahead and then go in, and basically that has a higher hit chance on your target. Next up, cross drop. This is actually something that there's a few carrier mains that when I played carriers on that stream earlier this year, they were like, oh my gosh, he's already starting to cross drop. What is cross drop? This basically means you target at a 45 degree angle and a negative 45 degree angle on a target, basically forcing them to choose a side. Do you want to dodge the first torps or dodge the second torps? Either way, you're taking a full set of torps. Enjoy your stay. Have a flood or two. Who knows? Maybe you'll die too in the case, and that way you can get out of the game, go to port. And I'm going back in the rant mode again. Come on, keep it back straight. But yeah, that's actually, if you want to increase your damage, cross drop. Now, of course, once you get better at practice, you won't need to cross drop. You'll just be able to drop on people without them really even having a chance of being able to dodge it. But that, of course, is extremely advanced play, something that I can't teach you, and unfortunately you learn via practice because carrier gameplay is incredibly strategically shallow. I'm going back on that rant. Sorry, let's go to the last one. Let's get back to the last one. I'm going to get into this rant. Baiting AA. Use your fighters. Bait basically the AA. AA only targets one particular squadron at a time, so sometimes sacrifice your fighters so your dive bombers and torpedo bombers can go into maybe a Worcester's AA field so that they can bomb and torp the living crap out of ships that believe that they're somewhat safe with AA because AA needs to get buffed. I'm going back into that rant again. I'm just going to end this right now, but that's exactly the basics of the carry if you want to increase your damage. I could go on a full video for this, but yes, carriers are basically completely and utterly shallow to play, and only based off of practice they actually get good. And these are the ways to actually get good and increase your damage, and maybe you'll be on my team and you'll actually do something instead of dying a bunch. But yeah, that's basically baiting AA, cross-dropping, and increasing your dive bomber damage. I'm going to stop before I cause a rant and this video becomes 30 minutes. Alright, that's it. That's really what I would say is the areas, besides just hitting your target, using the right AP versus HE, and everything that was included in this video to help push yourself to do a lot more damage in whatever class you play in this game, even carriers. But let me know in the comments down below, was this helpful? Was this not? Did I hit the right marks? Veterans, did I miss something? Would you suggest I maybe make a video on something else? Or was I, hit the nail on the head type of situation? Either way, hopefully, y'all enjoyed the video. Thank you for everyone who follows, and subscribes and makes this channel possible and just joins the community up on Discord. And a special thank you to all the Patreon members. Links to all those areas are down below. Y'all make this possible. Make this just a blast for me to do. So either way, thank you. I hope this helps you learn and grow as a player. And I look forward to next week, or next episode, I should really say, when I teach you how to stay alive a little bit longer. So, of course, figure out what to shoot, how to shoot, and now how to stay alive. See you next time, or see you next time on stream. Enjoy.